All right, I'm back with another interview. Today we got Jack. Me and this guy have been making videos together since before you were born, and today we're kind of talk to him about like his life experience, you know, maybe some stuff that he could teach us about. So first thing I wanted to ask you is, can you kind of like explain your career progression and like how you started out and what you're doing nowadays?
Yeah, so my current position is construction management. That's what I'm in right now. But the way it kind of all started out is in high school. I took some welding courses and went from there, gradually progressed, got certifications I needed, got a job locally doing smaller scale local work and learned what I could from them, and then moved on to bigger, more, what's the word, comprehensive type work.
Yeah.
A little more involved. Went to the industrial side of things and started working plant shutdowns, things of that nature, and worked my way up with another company to supervisor from a journeyman level position, and then from supervisor into management.
Yeah, so you started out with welding, right?
Yep, just
so
bare bones welding.
What do you think are like what certifications that you need, or like do you need today to like get that start?
It is definitely depends on the industry you're trying to get to and what area you're in. For me, being here in the earthquake region of the U.S., it was the D1.1 and D1.8 certifications, so that we could do seismic welding and stuff of that nature. And so that really got my foot in the door, being able to weld all the seismic connections and in this area. And but you know, area specific. If you're in Texas, obviously it'd be pipe certs, get your 6Gs, stuff like that, 6G, 5G, 6GR, whatever, for pipe welding certifications, so that you could get going on pipe work and plants and whatnot down there.
Yeah, gotcha. So what's like the typical timeline for like those certifications? And I know it probably ranges for different ones, but how long would you say if someone wants to get started in a career with welding, like how long would that take them?
To actually get certified, it depends how bad you want it. As with everything, it could be, it could be something that takes you years and years if you keep putting it off and don't put your mind to it. But if you put your mind to it and have the drive, you can bang it out in 6 months.
There you go. So you moved on from that to more, like you kind of do a wider array of stuff now. I mean, doing construction management. So I want to ask you, like, how did you broaden out? Like, how did you take that step from welding to doing more stuff?
It was kind of almost as if my hand was, I don't want to say forced, but I just kind of, with an open mind, took on other jobs in the industry.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I put myself in my own box of just, I'm a welder, I will only weld. If the company asked me to do bolt up or do this or do that, I would just do it. And so I started picking up all the other stuff and got into the more millwright side of things doing that. But, just pretty much just didn't put myself in a box and allowed myself to branch out a little bit with whatever was needed.
Yeah, so kind of just taking opportunities, like seeing opportunity where work needs to be picked up and just kind of going from there.
Yep, pretty much.
Gotcha.
Just not shy of any work, whether it's sweeping, welding, or, hanging steel or something, just do it all, do what you can. All pays the same, so you're learning the whole time and making the same wage. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, so the next thing I wanted to ask you about is, like, you're pretty young. You're now in a management position. What's it like, being younger than some of the people that you're overseeing?
Challenging when they know how old you are. So my strategy has been, when people ask how old I am, I make them guess, and regardless of what the guess is, I say good guess, and then just leave it at that. So nobody really knows my age,
Yeah.
So some people think I'm as old as 34, some people think as young as 24, but all within
It's a well-kept secret.
It's a pretty well kept secret.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mean to blow it up, but
that's that. No, I'm definitely younger for the position, for sure. But
that's funny. And then, like, being in management, how do you like resolve conflicts between you guys? 'Cause I know it's not like an office environment. It's definitely a different animal.
Yeah, definitely a different animal. Just during my supervisory positions on jobs, the way I always you got to find a middle ground, because people have big egos and things are handled. They're not handled in like a let's go to HR kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a let's go to the parking lot kind of setup, So you just got to try and the main goal during like conflict management is making sure that it doesn't get to that point.
Yeah.
So, if it would take moving a guy, just getting him off my crew, putting him on a different crew, we would do stuff like that, Sometimes it builds to worse than that. But, you know, basically, I would say the main conflict resolution that we would do would be just to separate guys and let people cool off. Because most of the time, it's heat of the moment, you know, like, hey,
Just
you
high
took my
tensions.
thing, or you knocked me doing this, you messed up my weld because you nudged me, kind of thing. And people just need to calm down
Some
and
space.
go relax, you know, go do go do this job instead, split them up, you know, kind of just take a breather.
Yeah.
Most of the time, people can swallow their pride a little bit, bite their tongue, and move on.
I get you. So if someone wanted to get like a job like you, or like move up into management, what would be your advice to them?
Work hard. That's pretty much all I can say. Just work hard, absorb all the information you can. Don't be shy of taking on a task that you don't want to do. Embrace the mundane, basically, you know. In the words of my favorite teacher in high school, embrace the mundane. Just if you know, it might be sweeping one day, but you know, when you complete all the mundane tasks, then you get to do the better stuff, and just constantly absorb the information. And just never shy away from a task. Always be willing to take one, you know.
That's solid advice.
Take risks as well. That's the other one. You know, the little voice in your head will be telling you things to make you nervous, or what if this happens if I do this, or maybe I can't handle it, and you just got to shut it off and take the risk.
Risk in terms of, can you say a little more?
So, you know, as projects get bigger, and what I would supervise the projects, you know, as they became bigger, more expensive, more involved projects, it's always, you know, there's always a little voice in your head like, oh shoot, can I handle this? Well, you know, am I going to mess this up? This is a lot of the company's reputation on the line. There's a lot of money on the line, and you don't want to mess it up. So the little voice in your head's kind of breaking you down a little bit, making you nervous. You just got to ignore it and just do your thing and have faith in what you do and be confident in yourself, and, you know, be confident in the crew around you and the people you're with, and make sure that you manage them to the best of your ability, and just embrace it.
I hear that. Cool. And then I want to ask, so like I know that you've moved around a lot for work. Like, what's that like? How do you manage that?
I think it's very person specific. You know, I definitely don't mind socializing with new people and going to a different environment and kind of figuring it out. In fact, I like the adventure. You know, that's probably the biggest thing for me, is the adventure. It's always something new, different place, different faces, new people to meet, different things to experience. But that's coming from a single guy, a young single guy. You know, there's guys out there who have
responsibility.
Sorry,
you don't have any responsibilities.
Right? Yeah, no responsibilities at home. I'm not tied into anything. I just do pretty much whatever I feel like doing in the moment. You know, I mean, it's not like I've got an old lady at home to worry about. But there are guys with families, and for them it's a lot tougher. You know, they have to. You know, there's a lot of FaceTiming and seeing family when you can, and that can definitely be a bigger challenge for those guys. And trying to manage that, it's a tough one. You know, there's a lot of relationships that fail because of the work.
Yeah, separation.
Yeah, definitely.
I just kind of want to go back to like trades in general, because I think like just being around it so much, you have a lot of insights to that. So I was wondering, like, what trades are like the hottest right now, or like the most needed, would you say?
Right now, all of them. I would say there isn't a trade that you could get into that wouldn't be a lucrative
can't go wrong
option. You pretty much can't go wrong now, because so many people don't want to do the work anymore.
Yeah.
And especially young switched on people, you know, like people who are probably forced down a different path due to kind of being on, you know, having a good intellectual side, and, you know, they kind of get pushed a certain way where, you know, if they were to go into a trade, they would really excel. But I mean, there's definitely a strong shortage. You couldn't go wrong with any trade.
Yeah. Do you think that like social stigma prevents people going for 100%. That a lot? What do you think about that?
I think it's a disservice to a lot of kids. You know, you go through school and a lot of kids get put in a box, like you have to do this, this, and this. You have to go to this college and do this and get that done. And, you know, for some people that is the right path. But then there's other people like me. My whole life I went through school being told I need to be put on Adderall, and that I need to start doing things different and need to get this together and this and that, when in reality I just have a lot of energy. I need to be out doing work, or, you know, just making something, creating something.
I would say,
you
like,
know?
you finding that path put you, like, it's way better for you. And I would say, like, a lot of those people that took that advice that you didn't take, you're now way ahead of them, because you're doing what you want to do.
And, you know, I'm playing to my personal strengths, where I excel as an individual. Where I excel as an individual isn't taking tests in a college classroom. It's being out in the field, meeting people, talking people, problem solving, and, actually kind of creating something physical with your hands and, doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. So I know that you said like you can't really go wrong, but if you were to say like top 3 paths to make bank going into trades right now, what would you advise people on? Like what do you think it would be?
Top 3 trades.
Like top 3 like training paths, trades, like
Mm-hmm.
just make bank now.
Make bank now. I definitely would not say welding.
Really?
I wouldn't say welding because there is the opportunity to make really decent money welding, but the money to sacrifice ratio is, in my opinion, not worth it.
Okay.
You can do something like, union electricians or even residential electricians. They're making very good money, and most of them, other than the, linesmen and people who do power transmission, but like the actual commercial electricians and residential electricians, they get to go home every night. It's clean work. It's a lot easier on your body than a lot of the other trades. You're not lifting heavy. You're not welding and inhaling fumes and grinding and making dust, or cutting with a saw and for framing like carpentry, you're inhaling all that sawdust. With electrical, you don't really have that, and so it's cleaner. It commands a very decent wage, and a lot of the time you get to go home every night, which is very nice.
Yeah.
I'd say plumbing would definitely be another option. Similar, can be kind of crappy at times, but it's definitely one of the more lucrative now because so many people are opposed to getting into it with kind of the nature of the work, what you do have to deal with. As long as you're not squeamish, it's definitely probably a good option, and I would say maybe even the best option currently. I know some plumbers out there who, they picked up the trade, did an apprenticeship, now they're running their own show, and they are making some good money.
Yeah, that makes sense. Any other ones that come to mind?
I would say those are definitely the top 2 right now.
Yeah.
All the other ones kind of, it can fluctuate a lot, because welding, it could pay a lot, it could also pay very little. Same with carpentry, there's guys who go out framing, they make really good money, but then there's also guys who get into the wrong kind of side of it and don't make a whole lot. So
yeah, more variability.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely more variables involved in those ones as opposed to the, established plumbers and electricians who all seem to be doing fairly solid.
Yeah, and I like what you said about just being close to home, because those are both ones that you can absolutely make a killing just doing residential.
Exactly.
Just being in the neighborhood.
Yep. Being, you could be doing your neighbor's house and making a killing,
Yeah.
as opposed to having to travel to a different state to weld something,
Yeah.
So.
I hear that.
Yeah.
So what do you like about working trades the most?
Ooh, there's a lot to like, but also a lot to dislike. But my favorite things would definitely just be like the job satisfaction of actually being able to step back at the end of a job, look at what you've built or what you've just maintained, and and really look at it and be like, holy crap, that was there was nothing there before, and now there's this. You get to stand back and look at it. And I'd say that's probably my favorite part is, all the hard work, it really pays off when you get to stand back and look at a physical object that will stand the test of time and be there that, you built.
Yeah.
And so I'd say that's my favorite part. And also the people. There's such a wide variety of characters that just make the job so enjoyable.
Yeah.
The different people you meet, you got every walk of life. There is definitely no bounds to who you're going to meet. It could be anything. Could be anybody.
That's funny. I like that one. I was wondering if you could just explain the overtime system, because I think a lot of people like me are like salary man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really get it.
Right.
So, I mean, at least in California, can you just explain how it works?
Well, the way it works at the company I am currently with is you get your 40 hours.
Yeah.
You finish your 40 hours a week. That's all regular time. But the way that it's done, which I think is more specific to the company I work for, is it's actually every hour over 8 per day is overtime.
Okay.
So you are earning overtime before hitting 40. So you could work 30 hours in a week by working 3 10-hour shifts, and 6 of those hours are overtime.
Okay. And then what's the pay difference like for overtime?
So the way that we do it is you've got obviously your regular hourly and then time and a half for overtime.
Okay.
There have been certain applications where double time is involved, but not so much.
Not as much? But
Can't say it's a huge thing that we really have. I think I've gotten it only a handful of times. times.
Yeah, but a lot of guys like seek out, like they just work hours and hours, like you.
Yeah.
To just stack the money, right? That's like a strategy.
Yeah, pretty much. Just pick up everything you can. You know, it takes a little bit of getting used to at first, but eventually you kind of get into the rhythm of just getting up for work every day, working 12 hours, going to sleep, and then doing it again for, you know, a month or so. And it just, you know, that's definitely the way that most of the guys try and do it.
Yeah.
Just get as many hours as possible in the shortest period of time. And just stack it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you're making, it's like, that's a significant amount more, so why not?
Yeah, I mean, I actually make more in overtime every year than I do straight pay.
That's crazy.
By like a good few thousand. So it's, you know, it's significant, and that's how we make a lot of our money.
Yeah.
Is the overtime. And honestly, a lot of it you don't even notice, because if you're working, some of our guys work very good schedules where we work 4/12s. So we only work 4 days out of the week. So you have a 3-day weekend every weekend, but you work 12 hours a day for the 4 days, and then you're logging your 48 hours and making really good money in the process.
Dang. How do you manage that? Like, how do you have time to, like, shower and sleep?
That's all you have time for. A lot of the time is to shower and sleep.
Just back at the site.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not too bad if you're only doing it 4 days out of the week, and then you get a 3-day weekend.
Yeah,
you know, you don't need, what do you need to do Monday through Thursday? You know, just hang out, go home, just relax every day. Then you got 3 days to get up to whatever you need to do. You know.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I want to talk about like some of your stories from the road. So like, first one that I can think of. One time I saw on your Snapchat, like, I think you lost the keys to your truck. You're like, in the snow. You're like walking around.
I forgot about that one.
You told me, like,
yeah, so I was driving from one project to another. This was quite a while ago. This one was actually probably 2 years ago now. But yeah, I remember that one vividly. I was driving from a job in Arizona to a job in northwestern Nevada.
Yeah.
And you know, when you're driving job to job, you just want to bang it out, get there as quick as you can, you know, reasonably. Obviously, you're not trying to kill yourself driving, you know, that's actually a big issue in the industry, but you know, you're trying to get there, so you just cruise and make things happen. So a lot of the times you end up stopping, you know, on the side of the road in a turnout to take a pee.
Okay.
And on this one, I was near the Mammoth area in the middle of winter, so it was snowed out,
Real
snow everywhere.
Yep.
You know, I mean, it looked like it had honestly just finished snowing. There's still plows on the road. And so I pulled my truck over, hopped out to go take a piss on the side of the road, and for some reason, I decided to walk out into this field that was covered in snow quite a ways. And when I started walking through this field, I found out that the way it was, like, there was brush that had snowfall on top of it, but as you kind of step on it, there was parts where your foot would just fall right through.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, I was walking, and as I was getting out into the middle of this semi-substantial field, my foot fell through, and I kind of tipped over. And in that process, without realizing, the keys fell out of my pocket. And so I kept walking into the middle of the field to take the piss. And I didn't know that my keys were there. And, you know, so I did the business, took care of it, walked back to the truck. For some reason, I locked it. I don't know why I locked it, but the truck was locked. So I go to open it, and I can't get it. So I check my pockets, keys are gone. Heart sinks, starts pounding, actually. I didn't know what to do at that point in time. I thought I was 8 hours away from anybody I know, almost. You know, like, there was nothing I could have done at that point. Phone was luckily on my person.
Oh, yeah.
That was the only saving grace about the whole thing, but my wallet was in the truck, so I couldn't go and, you know, buy anything or give anybody. It was so, yeah. Anyway.
How long were you out there?
I can't say exactly. I would have to look. I actually have videos saved of this if you want to cut them in. But there's no, I couldn't tell you the exact time, but it was sunny when I started looking for them, and it was dark by the time I found them. But anyway, I went back, started retracing my steps, and I spent a long time just going through the snow. There's other footprints and tracks and holes throughout. People? Not other people, but other tracks.
Oh, okay.
I was by myself. This is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And, just kept looking around, and I couldn't find them, and so I thought I was going to have to just smash my window and sleep in my truck and call a locksmith and, you know, whole nine. But eventually, I ended up lucking out, and for some reason, don't know why, I felt like this area. You know, I reached down and there they were.
Damn.
But I was very fortunate to find them. I was panicking. That was a very nervous situation for sure.
Yeah, and that was in transit, just like by
In
yourself.
transit in the middle of nowhere, you know, like we're talking 2-lane highway with maybe one car every 20 minutes. In the middle of rural California, Nevada, way northwest of the States. So.
Yeah. So you pass through like a lot of like rural areas and like little towns, right? Do you have any fun stories from from going through the towns?
There is definitely quite a few, and I'm gonna have to think. But one of them is there's this town that we work in Nevada, and it's in like central Nevada, and it's middle of nowhere. And there's one time I have a radar detector on my truck,
Okay.
and it can scan for the police radars, obviously, but also lasers and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
police use lasers for, shooting speed. And so, in the middle of Nevada, I was leaving this one job, and I was on this highway called the loneliest highway in America, and it's you can look that up. It's in the middle of nowhere, Nevada, and I was cruising on it, and then all of a sudden, my truck the radar detector started sounding laser, laser, laser. So I think there's like a cop hidden or something. But there's nothing, dude. It's night. Like, it's pitch dark.
Yeah.
And this is a tiny little town. Like, I'm sketched out, you know? So I'm still cruising, dude. And then there's, as I keep going, I come over this hill, and there's this, like, 2 trucks just parked kind of, like, off in the distance.
Yeah.
But there, with their lights kind of shining towards the road. And I'm cruising, and as I go by, they start moving. And so then I put my foot down, dude, and I get out of there. Who knows what could have happened there. But that one was scary. Could have been aliens, though.
What do you think set it off?
Well, that's the thing. In central Nevada, you don't know. You know, like we're near Area 51 at times, and it'll happen. And I don't know. There's a lot of crazy shit out there. But I'm trying to think of another story of the small towns because there's just too many, dude. We like to do these off-road trips in Cal City, as I'm sure you are aware.
Yeah.
And there was one time my buddy and I, we were just cruising, and we saw these like containers off in the.
Oh, I remember this one.
You heard that? Yeah.
Keep going. Keep going.
So there's these containers just in the middle of the desert. Like, when I say we're camping in the desert, as you know, like there's nothing around. Like, you got to go a ways to find like the town, you know. And we were even further out. So from the actual sheriff station out there, we had to have been at least 10 miles deeper into the desert. Nothing around, and there's just these shipping containers stacked. And we're like looking at it, like, what the heck's going on here? So we start cruising up to it, and I was driving his truck, and we were driving up to it, and we were focused on the containers, so I wasn't really looking at what was in front. So I ended up plowing his truck into this little deep ravine. Well, it was not little. This deep ravine,
Yeah.
and getting it so stuck. Like, I'll show you the picture. It's twisted up. It was a bad situation. We could not get it unstuck. We tried for a little while, trying to get it unstuck. So we're like, oh shoot, like this is not good. And we're right close to this compound right now. And so we go to call our buddies, and my phone's on 1%. He doesn't have his phone. And so I have a 1%.
You're on your bikes, right?
No, we're in his
Okay,
truck.
okay.
And so, but he doesn't have a phone charger, and he
Yeah.
doesn't have his phone. His phone was back at camp. And we didn't have any of our utilities with us that fire metal rounds of things. So we were like left for dead. Like if anything were to happen, we were screwed. And so I have 1%, and we're like near the sketchy looking compound. So I quickly send the location to all the guys, like, come get us now, bring my truck in a tow strap. And that's it, my phone dies. So I just am sitting there hoping that they see the text,
Yeah.
and that they all sent, and that they have the actual location so they can come get us. And so we're just sitting there, dude. And there's nothing we can do. We tried getting the truck unstuck. We looked around for something to grab, and there was nothing. And then out of nowhere, this Mercedes and this, like, pimped out F-150 pull up, headlights shining on us. Bunch of these guys come out, and they start walking over to us, and none of them speak English. And so I can't, at this point, my Spanish wasn't as good as it is now, so I couldn't communicate at all. And so they're talking to us, and I'm like, I no hablo español. We cannot communicate. So we're just sitting there. We're like, I'm sorry, I cannot communicate. And then this one guy who was sitting in the back of the Mercedes, he comes out, And, you know, older gentleman,
Yeah.
he walks up and he speaks English. So he starts asking us, he's like, what are you guys doing out here? We're like, oh, you know, just cruising around, whatnot. And he's like, okay. And then they all walk away and go into the compound of shipping containers. And then we don't know what the heck's happening, dude. They didn't say, like, oh, we're going to come back and pull you out. They didn't say anything. So we're just sitting there, like, no idea. So we get out of the truck and we go stand at the back of the truck because we're not sure what's going to happen. And we sit there for quite a while, just panicking. We don't have the firearms with us. We didn't have any form of communication. We were just stranded.
Yeah.
And they didn't seem like they wanted to help at all. So we're just waiting there. And, you know, like probably an hour goes by, maybe less. And then they all start walking back out. And so we don't know what's going to happen, dude. Like these guys, they just start walking out. And then by a miracle, I see the boys in my truck pulling up as well in the background. And so they're all pulling up. These guys are walking out. They ask us, like, who's this? And they're like, oh, that's our buddies. They came to pull us out, you know, and they're like, oh, okay. So we get pulled out. The guys from the compound stood there watching. We get pulled out by our buddies, you know, get the phone on charge. We're good. We start driving. As we start driving, the Mercedes flips around and starts following us. And we're driving out, and this Mercedes is following us for the freaking whole time we're going. So we all get on the phone for like, keep going to the sheriff's station, keep going. And as we're driving, the Mercedes, like, they're tailing us. They turn off their headlights.
Jeez,
And they kept following us all the way.
Was it nighttime?
Yeah, this was.
Jeez.
I should say that we were driving the truck before we got stuck. It was sunset. By the time the boys rolled around in my truck, it was pitch black nighttime.
Jeez.
And so the Mercedes, as they're following us, turns off their headlights and just kind of fades into the darkness. But you could see every once in a while the reflection. They were still following us. So we all called, we're like, go straight to the sheriff's station. Do not stop. So we just keep going. We keep going. And, you know, at this point, we don't know what the heck's about to happen. Like, it could be anything. But we get to the sheriff's station. As soon as they saw us pulling the sheriff's station, they quickly turned around and took off. But we don't know how that one was going to play out or what, you know, what they were involved with or anything. But that was one of the sketchier ones for sure.
Dicey situation.
Very.
Yeah. Do you ever think about, like, what do you think it was?
You know, I don't want to profile here, but we all have every inclination. I mean, the way that the connexes were set up and the location that they were, and the way that you couldn't see into the compound, and that the way they pulled up, they obviously had like sensors or something because they didn't come from the compound. They pulled up from another location in force and walked straight to us as if they knew we were there. So obviously they had some kind of surveillance or sensors or something around the little compound. So we are all under the impression it was cartel.
Yeah, that's scary. Man.
And we, talking to the sheriffs, they said that it's very possible, and they, you know, that there could be some kind of sketchy operation out there. But they kind of they're not sheriffs, I should say. They're park rangers, so they don't get involved with it.
Oh, okay.
They kind of they just focus on the OHV, the guys off-roading, stuff like that. But I think they forwarded it to whoever, I don't know. But
and they ticket you if you don't have a sticker, but they just let those guys.
Yeah, pretty much.
Man.
So that was a sketchy story.
That's pretty scary.
That was a good one.
Speaking about your phone being on 1%, I feel like you've broken like 10 iPhones. Do you have any stories?
I break.
How many phones have you broken?
Total phones or iPhones?
Total.
I couldn't even tell you. I mean, we're definitely way into the double digits, probably 20 plus at this point. I mean, just iPhones, since I've been able to afford iPhones, I've gone through about 6 or 7.
Dude, that's crazy.
Maybe even more. Like 1 to 2 a year at least, because I do break them rather frequently. This one, knock on wood, we're going past a year now.
Hey, that's unheard of.
Yeah, that's a first for me. So
how do you normally break them?
I, for one, do quite like to indulge in adult beverages from time to time. And every once in a while,
just wake up, it's like
at some point during my adult beverage escapade, it landed on the ground or got ran over. You know, who's to say? But they end up in pretty bad shape.
Yeah.
I have quite a stack of iPhones sitting at home, just shattered to all pieces.
You gotta make a collection out of them.
I do have a big collection going.
You recently became a homeowner.
Yes.
How the hell did you manage to do that?
just pretty much the same way that I kind of was able to progress, in the industry. It's just work hard and don't shy away from any task, I mean, there was never a time I wouldn't accept the work.
Yeah.
And so I was able to just bust it out, young man, no obligations, don't have to be anywhere, just work, and, save every penny I could. A lot of guys in the industry fall victim to the new truck syndrome, where they start making decent money and they end up with a $1,300 a month truck payment. So, I never did that, drove the same F-150 that I have forever.
Yep.
And, never bought a new truck, never started financing all the toys, only bought things that I could afford in the moment. And honestly, since I started really traveling and working hours, I haven't bought anything until the house. Yeah. That was pretty much the first purchase I actually made.
Just kinda like,
that wasn't essential.
Yeah. So you're just living, just buying what you need, and just saving the rest.
Yep. Yeah. Don't spend it on stupid things. Keep your nose clean. Stay out of the bad stuff. Because that'll suck a check up real quick. Too much drinking or getting into the drugs and stuff.
Yeah.
That's a 100% way to lose your money. So if you stay away from all of that as best you can, obviously I enjoy myself from time to time, but there's guys who go out to the bar every night. It's like a bar tab every night. That adds up at the end of the year. You spend $80 a day going to the bar. By the end of the year, you spend a lot of money.
Yeah, for sure.
But that was mainly it. Just spend the money wisely and invest it wisely. Trust the market. Get into an index fund. That didn't steer me wrong at all. It has its ups and downs, but I just contribute a certain amount of money every month into an S&P 500 index fund and let it do the rest for me.
Yeah, that's the way to go, man. So you were like doing some research on neighborhoods, right? Like for a little bit. How did you pick like where you want to set up camp?
The big thing I looked for was its development in the future.
Yeah.
It was, is this a community that, while right now is nice, but will kind of grow into something bigger? That was kind of one of my big criteria. But the other thing was just, it's all location. The both things I'm saying right now are actually tied into location, but one, that it's an up and coming area that has the potential for growth. And the other is that it's in a good place for those who maybe have to commute and can, be in a position to afford a home. They got to commute to a job in X area. So I bought it in the middle so that they can. I'm equidistant to both major metropolitan areas.
Yeah.
And so it's 25 minutes to one, 25 minutes to the other, right in the middle. And where I chose is also kind of a very up and coming area. A lot of companies are moving in there, and it's really growing into something more than what it used to be. So that was kind of the big criteria. And also just, obviously look at crime statistics. Big one for me, they have to have their own police department.
Yeah. Not
like a county police department, but their own city one, where they have their own city funding and city council meetings. You can bring up issues that you want them to improve on, and they can, because they're their own individual department, as opposed to a big county department that is bound by the whims of a different town that may want something different than what the people of your area would like.
That makes sense. I didn't think of that one.
That's a big one too.
Yeah, so you kind of just answered it, but I was wondering like things that you would advise people to like look out for, or just like being in that game. Like, what are some things that people should be aware of?
Like in terms
just
of
like
buying
in terms
a home.
of looking for a home, yeah.
I can't stress enough. There's no such thing as like the right or wrong time to buy a home. It's when you're ready. Don't rush into it, because I know too many people have rushed into it and they end up with payments way crazy because they didn't actually save up enough to put down. So now they're getting screwed on the monthly. They have to pay private mortgage insurance. They have to do the whole nine, and so you get what should be a $2,400 mortgage turns into a $4,000 mortgage. So, that's definitely a big one to look out for. Stay away from. Do it when you are ready. Yeah. Don't just be like everybody saying, "Oh, get a house now. The interest rates are blah blah blah." Don't wait until you are ready, because it's a burden.
Yeah.
A home it's a 30-year, very significant commitment. It's not something that's, it's not like you can just lease, like, it's not like an apartment where you can, you sign up for a lease where you might be in over your head. You got 1 year, or you can break the lease and then you're out of it. This is a 30-year commitment unless you sell it or rent it out. And even then, renting it out, you still got to pay the bills on it.
Right.
So it's a significant commitment. So it's just got to be when you are ready for sure. And do not rush into it, because rushing into it's the worst thing you can do, because then you end up what we like to call house broke.
House broke, just putting all your money.
All your money goes to your house, and then what do you have left to live on?
Yeah.
You just spent your entire monthly income paying your mortgage off, and now you are worried about all your other bills just because you paid your mortgage, when you could be better off renting at the time and still have money to save and also pay your other bills.
Yeah, I feel like in America there's a lot of pressure. Like, it's like the American dream. Oh, get your white picket fence in your house. Like, I feel like
definitely
people are very bought into that.
Yeah.
But I think it's good advice. Like, just not. It's such a huge commitment.
I mean, owning a home is definitely a great thing. It's they tend not to depreciate, and you get to write off all of your interest. So if you have a mortgage that's equal to your rent, you're writing off all the interest from that mortgage. So in the end, at the end of the year, you're better off, because you're able to write all of that interest off of your taxes, as long as your mortgage is under $750,000. But writing that, just the tax benefits alone of home ownership, if you can afford it, are great.
I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that's a big one.
That's the main one, or
that's one of the huge ones. Is if rent in your area is like, I know out here rent can be $3,500 for a 2-bedroom.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
Like, that's insane. If the rent in your area is something crazy like that, and you have the capital to put down and have a manageable monthly payment on a home, you're way better off, because even if the mortgage was $3,500, writing off the interest, which is a huge part of the mortgage, you're way better off at the end of the year. If you can get a mortgage for $3,500 or rent for $3,500,
yeah,
if you have the capital to put down, you're way better off going for that house. Writing it off, and the tax benefits are great, and it can appreciate, and you're building your own wealth. The money that you put into a house, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get it back when you sell it.
Yeah.
The average home appreciates at 5% a year. So,
wow.
Definitely nothing to. If you have the means and you're ready, it's definitely a good way to go.
Yeah, yeah, I hear that. So just kind of want to wrap it up. Like, what are your goals for the next few years?
Just learn as much as I can. Going into this more management position, I want to, really make sure that I absorb all the information that I can, and, try and excel and do good for the company, do good for myself, do a solid job.
Yep.
There's a lot of people kind of counting on it, and I want to make sure that I excel at that. So that would be one of the biggest things, just learn as much as I can and do the best that I can in this new kind of position with this new endeavor. Keep saving, keep investing. That's a big one. I'd like to have another piece of property at some point here, and eventually I would like to be able to have a decent property portfolio. And so, kind of working to that goal will definitely be something that's focused on in the next few years, as well as, honestly, that's it. And I'm living life a little bit as well now.
Yeah.
I've kind of, I
spent a lot of
really, worked and spent all of my time to get to the point I am right now, to home ownership and kind of this baseline, to the point now where I feel like I can kind of take a breather. And so, that's another kind of goal of mine, is to maybe kind of just calm down a little bit.
That's
I'm where I'm at now. I can relax. There's no, I can relax to the next step a little more.
I mean, the past couple of years, like, I don't remember time. Like, you just work all the time. Like, that's all I remember is just, Jackson. And we come back, it's like huge. It's like, what? He's on. Everyone's stoked.
Yeah.
Because you're working, but it's good. Right. It's paying off, dude. I love it.
Yeah.
And then last thing I wanted to ask you, this video is going to live forever. How do you want to be remembered?
How do I want to be remembered? I'd say the thing I would like to be remembered as most is just somebody who is committed to his craft. That's kind of what I would like to be remembered as, because I know my reputation previously has been the kid who was messing up in school and being kind of maybe a delinquent at times. I would like, to be remembered as just the guy dedicated to his craft, and somebody who really kind of
made it.
Not necessarily even made it, but just somebody who loved what they did.
Yeah.
Because I do. I love what I do, and I want that to kind of be how I'm remembered. somebody who loved what they did and was dedicated to what they do.
That's sweet. Well, thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, dude. You're a good
Was that
speaker,
good?
man. Yeah.